Welcome to the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicast and in partnership with Vertical Valor Magazine. In this two-part series, Jack Schonely and I are joined by Johnny Gray III and David Baumann, two remarkable crew chiefs from LA County Fire Department's air operations.
I truly feel like athletics, it parallels the fire service so much. You know, the cliche word is teamwork, but it truly takes a special person to do what we are doing now in the helicopter. Athletics taught me a lot. It taught me commitment, taught me dedication, taught me perseverance. It taught me when you fail, you got to keep going. It taught me to build up your teammates, build up others. Being part of a professional team, we were in the community a lot. You know, in college, we had Tiger Cub camps all the time. So we were in the community all the time. So when I do go talk and talk to athletes, this literally is the next best thing, if not better.
Johnny and David take us on a compelling journey from their athletic backgrounds to their vital role in emergency services, highlighting the importance of teamwork, leadership, and mental resilience. Through personal stories, they share lessons from overcoming failure, navigating high-stakes situations, and the critical impact of mentorship and community involvement. Whether it's tackling devastating wildfires, honoring fallen heroes, or working alongside family, their experiences shed light on the enduring spirit of dedication and service that drives them. Thank you to our sponsors, CNC Technologies, Garmin, and Onboard Systems Hoist and Winch.
Welcome to the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z Podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like they're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, threw the shotgun, threw something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
I've never asked anybody this. I've thought this a million times, and now I have the opportunity. I've got two very experienced firefighter paramedics. Do they teach you or talk about that early on, especially the paramedic side, about just let it go, where you transport, do everything you can, be as professional, as skilled as possible, do everything you can, but don't be calling the hospital an hour later and saying, hey, do they talk about that for your own mental wellness, or is that something that's just a given, or talk about that?
I forget how many hours paramedic school was, 1,400 hours, maybe a half hour, maybe in paramedic training.
Really?
But, it's an individual basis. And I think that's where you rely on your seasoned vets, your brothers,
yes,
or your crew. We laugh together, we cry together, whatever the case may be. But that's part of learning and living and using your experience and your wisdom to the next guy. And like I made the reference earlier with the critical kid in the back of the ambulance, that's, you got to cut everything out, deal with it, and then have that conversation, whatever that may be. But I think it's an individual basis, and then you rely on the brotherhood of the job to help you get through the difficult things, and sharing your experiences. That I'm sure you all have heard the term, the firehouse kitchen table solves all the world's problems.
Oh, I'm sure.
Good, bad, or indifferent, it's handled right there, and that's where a lot of those stories are shared. And hey, could we have done something better? Or like in this case, this poor guy, recently, I mean, there's nothing, we could have been in an operating room. There's nothing we're going to do. But no, we're not getting, any professional training as part of our education. That's a rough on the job, punch in the nose training, and you move forward.
Johnny, anything you want to add on this? That is an important topic. I mean,
our department, when something like this does happen, they definitely have peer support teams and critical incident teams that will come and talk to us and help us. I've had shifts where the battalion chief will say, hey, you and your partner, go home. That SIDS patient that we had, I got sent home. That shit. So that was beneficial. Me personally, I have to work on reminding myself that I'm in control of my emotions. I know that's easier said than done, but I'm in control to how I respond to things. So I have to consciously, like Dave said, remind myself that We're there to do a job to help out. We did not cause the problem, but we are here to try to mitigate or solve the problem. And if we don't, that's just part of what we signed up for. And we have to go on to that next play. If we let the last call wear on us, now we are doing a disservice to the next patient that we might go on, so.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. That's a really good mindset right there.
That's why it's very important that we try to control ourselves. Because again, we are professionals. I know it's not easy for each individual, but we serve the people. And each call deserves our 100% focus and presence.
Yeah. Short memory, right? Short memory. You probably have heard that in your athletic time, you forget about that last foul shot. Short memory. Yep. You'd make the next one. Right. Same thing. It's a mindset that's going to keep you sane.
Yep.
Over the years. I mean, I can't even imagine the trauma that you've both seen, and you have to find a way to deal with it. And you both explained it very nicely. Thanks for talking
Jack,
about
what's
that.
even crazier is that I don't know what the trauma is going to do to me 5, 10, 15 years from now.
That's true.
That's the crazy part about the mental aspect of this game is right now I feel fine, but it's the strong ones that you have to check up on too. Obviously there's a lot of suicides in police and fire in general, but we don't know what we don't know and how our brain and synapses are going to react years from now. What might be that trigger? I don't know yet. So it's important that I work on not on just my physical, shape, whether that's cardio or weights, but we have to somehow work on our mental shape as well.
Yes. Yeah. And you got to do it now. John and I will tell you that one of our favorite episodes ever is with Dr. Tanya Glenn. We say that all the time, like a broken record. Well, guess what? I'm going to continue to say it like a broken record because Tanya Glenn talked about mental wellness, PTS, and talked about how to deal with it and how to prevent it, and it was one of those episodes we walked away and said, wow, I wish I had heard that 30 years ago. There are ways to deal with it right now. And it's good that you brought up and said your department has peer support. Maybe it needs to be even a step further, because it all builds up. And Tanya just laid it out in plain English, about how to deal with it and why it's important to talk and why it's important to get help. And, even when you think you're fine, everybody thinks they're fine.
Well, maybe that episode might need to be part of our curriculum.
Yes.
Maybe we should show Dr. Tanya speaking about mental health.
I think so. I have sent that to every police chief I know, every single one, and said, here's an episode. I'm plugging this for a reason. Watch it and you'll understand it. And several of them got back to me and said, wow. I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, I wish I had that video 30, 40 years ago. We'd all be in a better place if we understood the things that they know now. Yep. And like John said, the stigma's gone for the most part. It's not completely gone, but it's diminished dramatically. We got to talk about it because the average person doesn't have any idea what the two of you have seen in your careers. They have no freaking clue. And and it stays. And even if you think you're good, like you said, Johnny, you don't know what it's going to feel like 5 years from now.
Some smell might trigger me. I don't even know.
Yep. There's a lot of trauma and tragedy, but the good far outweighs the bad.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
There's a lot of
thankfully that's the case.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'd all be, having some serious issues here. Because the good does outweigh the bad. But
for sure.
Good. Thanks for talking about that. I appreciate that.
Last point I'll bring up on that is we're great about compartmentalizing things. You talk about going from one call to the next, and you've got to bottle up the experience you just went through so you can professionally respond to the next thing. So we're really good about compartmentalizing that stuff. And it happens too when you go home, right? You try and compartmentalize that so you're not bringing all these negative experiences or potentially bad experiences home and unloading on the family. The problem is, what happens when you run out of space to compartmentalize? There's no more compartments left because you've compartmentalized so much of that, So I don't need to beat a dead horse here, but it's important for us to talk about, and I appreciate you guys going through that with us.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
It's interesting. We talked about how the stigma is diminished over time. My dad was a police officer, and I grew up just like Dave, you did, seeing your dad in the role that you ended up going into. So I've personally seen things change over the course of his career and now my career for the better in a lot of ways. But I think it's really cool you got a chance to work with your dad. That's something I never got to do. I always thought it'd be really cool, and it never got the experience. Can you talk about the opportunity you had to work with your dad and some of the things you got to do together with him?
Yeah, it was fantastic. When I figured out what I wanted to do as a career, I had the opportunity to ride along with him and, live the firehouse life and be inspired by it. And then when I got hired down in San Diego County, I'm a part of the brotherhood, but still I always play for the Yankees. I want to work for LA County. And then took that test with tens of thousands of folks and was lucky enough to do well enough on it and got hired right away off of that list. My dad was shocked. He was extremely happy, and he was at the twilight of his career. At the time, there was a mandatory retirement age at 60, and he was 59. And still, he's a legend on our job. I mean, our academy classes that are going through, I still get Smokey stories my dad's name is Smokey. And I still hear Smokey stories all the time. They refer to him in these new training academies for captains on how to run your firehouse. So he's a living legend. He's been retired for 25 years on the job. And I still, not so much now being at Air Ops, it's a smaller group, but when I was out in the field, people would see my name. Baumann, you're not Smokey's kid, are you? So whether they had a great experience or a bad experience, he's a legendary guy on our job. But he did come up. He surprised me a couple of times when I was a rookie firefighter. The only time I've ever been late in my whole life to work, ironically, was the day that my dad was coming up to work, didn't tell me, and horrific accident on the freeway. 2.5 hours of traffic, and I was the rookie that is doing the right rookie things. You show up an hour early, you're making the coffee, you're doing the chores, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sitting there panicking, and I don't even think we had cell phones, so you couldn't make a phone call, whatever. So, I'm sweating bullets, show up late, and lo and behold, there's my dad. And I'm like, I was already embarrassed for, being a little bit late, but now it's my dad, and, I want to set a good tone. And I'm like, oh man, this isn't getting off to the right foot. But anyhow, I had an opportunity to work about a dozen shifts with him before he retired. And his last few shifts, I told his firemen, get lost. I'm going to work with my dad, cool. For his last few shifts.
And he was a captain, David?
He was, yes.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was really neat. He had the best send-off he could have. His second to last shift. And my dad was, one of the things that he's well known for is he was always the first one on the rig, and he leads by example. He's out. He was a tough, militaristic type of captain. And I think that was brought over from, his years in San Antonio, losing his partner on a fire. And he not only talked the talk, but he walked the walk, and he led by example, and he was always the first one on the rig. And so one of my rules was I'm not going to let my dad beat me to the rig. Well, every time, the bell goes off, and I was popped out of the bed at, 2 a.m, and the door's already closing he's already left the dorm. I'm like, how is that possible? And anybody that knows him knows he was always the first one on the rig, always. Unless the guys would plant themselves on the rig to beat him there, he was always that guy. So anyhow, long story short, a second to last shift, middle of the night, 3 a.m, we get toned out for a structure fire out of our district. And same thing, I'm hauling ass to the rig, pull out. He's the first one on the rig. We're screaming down the street, and a huge column of smoke up in the air. And so it's like, wow, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be fun. And so we pull up, and he says, hey, grab the hydrant. So I go back, 3-man engine, go back to grab our 4-inch supply hose, and the hydrant's like 200 feet away. I'm like, damn. I'm already thinking I'm not going to get the nozzle. I want to fight fire, right? But I'm got to take the supply line for the engine. So I'm already gassed. I come back, and now I got to pull a pre-connected hose line down 300 feet down this alley, and looks to me like the whole world's on fire. My dad's already down there. So I grabbed the hose line and I'm hauling ass because now other units are starting to show up, and, I want that nozzle. I want to fight fire. And so I'm hauling ass, and this is the only time this has happened to me. And, again, you live and you learn, but I'm running in LA County. All my East Coast buddies make fun of us because we wear axe belts. And
I know this
as I'm running with 300 feet of hose, that axe handle tripped me up, and I was a yard sale. So face first into the pavement, pop right back up. And my dad was down where all the fire was. He comes out, you okay? You okay? Yeah, I'm embarrassed. Still flake out the hose, charge the line. Well, I haven't had time to put on gloves, mask, anything. And it's numerous vehicles, 7 or 8 vehicles burning up against an apartment house building. And so I start knocking down the fire. Well, I can feel myself getting burned, my hands and my face. So I tell my dad, I said, hey, hold the nozzle for me. I'm getting burned. So he's got it, and I'm trying to get my gloves and my mask on as fast as I can. In the meantime, one of the paramedic squads pulled up, and guy comes down. He's all ready to go. He's battle ready. So my dad tells him, go pull a second line for this fire. And he goes to grab the nozzle from my dad. Well, that he got launched into next week. there was no way my dad was going to give up this nozzle for his son to fight fire with. So anyhow, so many funny things that happened. But the only time I ever got tripped up by an axe, only time I've ever been burned on a fire, burned my face, my hands. It was awesome. I mean, it was a second awesome alarm, went through several bottles, and, by the end, I mean, we went to battle, and it was the best send off you could ever give a guy like him in his career. And he is so proud to fight fire with his kid. And I was so proud, to do the same with my dad. And like I said, it was, you couldn't have scripted a better exit for him.
That is great.
Yeah. That's certainly one of the highlights of my career.
I bet.
And your dad's, I bet.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that accused him of paying somebody to have that thing set, which wasn't the case.
I can't think of a better mentor than your own father, especially in a situation like that. The pride, like you said, that goes with going to battle with your dad in a situation like that's got to be just amazing.
It was neat.
On the topic of mentorship, change gears again, kind of with time in mind. Johnny, you're a part of an organization that's you're a mentor to a ton of people. Can you talk about the organization you're a part of and the work that you're doing? Whether your mission is saving lives or servicing high-value assets, Onboard Systems Hoist stays ready to assist. Features such as single-point payout reduce the potential for hoist-induced load swings, enhancing overall safety. For more information, go to hoist-winch.onboardsystems.com.
I'll keep it brief. I'm the president of the Los Angeles County Centurions. It's a fire organization that's been around since 1954. And it was, created because back in the day, there was blatant overt racism. So, for example, if I had to relieve a firefighter, I couldn't relieve any one of you guys. I had to, relieve the black guy. I had to bring my own forks, knives, dishes, bedding, mattress, everything. So times were different then. So they created an organization where they can have some kind of unity and a loud voice, hence the root word stentor, which came from Homer's Iliad. That means a loud, powerful voice. So that was created prior to me being president. The immediate past president was a Deputy Chief, Robert Harris, who's currently our Deputy Chief for our department. Prior to him was the first African-American chief for our department, Daryl Osby. And then prior to him, it was Brent Burton, who was the first person that I actually came into contact with in the fire service. And then there were previous folks before them, obviously, that were trailblazers. One being Herschel Clady, who was the first Black person to get promoted to engineer in 1976 and then to captain in 1977. He was also the past president. So there were a lot of big shoes to fill. So I feel like as humans, our purpose is to serve others, and that gives us the most gratitude and most heartwarming emotions that you can possibly have is to help someone, watch them reach their goal, and then see them succeed in life. So our program, that's what we do. We try to recruit, expose those that aren't really exposed to the fire service. Because in the Black community, it's either sports or rap for the most part, not to sound cliche, but we don't really get exposed to this profession, especially in areas that are lower income. So I find it, my duty and my purpose to continue to help those that want this career or need to know about this career. And I owe it to those before me to keep it going. We are an all-inclusive group. We help everyone, but just a little brief history on why and how it was created. So now we do mentorship as relates to becoming a firefighter. If you want to be an engineer, we have groups of folks and members that help each other become engineers. We have captain academies that we help each other with, and then so on and so forth. We do toy drives in the community. We're working on our own EMT school right now. So that way, those that don't have the financial, they need money. So we actually want to create a program where they get paid monthly to get their EMT cert. We have the curriculum. We're just waiting for the state to give us the blessing, and that's what we are here for the community. That's one of our core values in the LA County Fire Department is community as well as caring. So that's what our organization does. And I hope that I'm, filling those shoes well. And I'm just hoping that the next generation can reach back. Thank you, DB. Reach back and give back because it's bigger than us, Yeah. So it's very important for me to be that face, be that voice. And I'll share something real quick, John. I know we're pressed for time, but what really, really touched my heart was I was a first-year firefighter. I was working with the Black captain, Black engineer, 3-man engine in View Park or Ladera Heights, which is the Black Beverly Hills. And this old man, about 85 years old, is crying. At that time, we were checking hydrants, and doing our due diligence. And the guy is crying. So my captain goes, "Hey, sir, are you okay? What's going on? Do you need help?" He just says, "I've never seen an all-Black crew before." And he's 85 years old. So, that touched me. And, it reminds me that I have little cousins, nephews, kids, that it's important that people see someone that looks like them. It's important that they see themselves in someone that's doing a particular job. So I love this organization. It introduced me to the fire service. So I owe it to this organization to give back and introduce others to the fire service.
So you're the president of the Centurion.
Yes.
Centurions, right?
Yep.
And it was the first thing you mentioned.
Yes.
Back when you were giving us, how did you end up being a firefighter? So it impacted you personally in a huge way, and now you're the president of that organization. How cool is that?
Yeah, I've been on the board I've been on the job for 15 years and on the board for 14 years.
Oh, that's great.
So
that's great, Johnny. Good for you.
That it
you couldn't have picked a better guy to lead that organization. As just a side note, when we were working together here recently, we flew in for a drill, and one of the gentlemen that he was referring to, Brent Burton, who was a president of that organization many years ago, he's still doing it. And he has a group, probably about 40 or 50 high school students that he's now teaching these kids at it's a fire cadet program. So we landed and gave them a drill. And that's a guy that he was a truck captain at a very busy district that was our truck when I was on a very busy fire engine, a guy that I looked up to numerous times, worked with. And
legend.
Lo and behold, fast forward 20 years later, now we're giving a drill to his students. And it's just funny. My mom always said the Lord works in mysterious ways. And
right.
It's just neat. It's neat to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we talk about leaving the profession better than we found it a lot. And you're not just talking about it, you're actually doing it. In your own time, you're dedicating your life to going and leaning into these kids who may not otherwise have a positive experience or interaction with public safety. So I love that. Any stories you can share with some of the kids that you've come across as far as, I met this kid, and he's followed through with some of the things that I told him to do, and here he is doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So one in particular, he came through our recruit prep program, myself, with a host of others, but mainly Captain Kenny Lee. We had this program where we go through the testing process, how to take a test, how to dress for an interview, because believe it or not, folks come in their pinstripe suits, zoot suits, and it's like, no, don't wear that. But they have to get taught this stuff. So that's why we're here. One of the students actually was a homeless guy, in and out, not homeless to the sense where, he had no kind of guidance or on drugs. He just, family issues. So during that time, he had no place to rest his head consistently. Came through our program, and he has the badge now. He's been on for 5 years now.
Wow.
So that is very cool. And one other one, I met him at my wife's uncle's party. He said, "Hey, my uncle's telling me about this job, and you're a firefighter. How do I do this?" Gave him the blueprint on how to do it, the process. And then fast forward now, I'm on stage at the Grammys with him, and he sent these pictures of his kids. He has 2 kids now, bought a house, and it's like, you changed my life. Like, I bought a house, I'm married, I have 2 kids now with a career that I love. So thank you. So that is very, very rewarding to see that your guidance helped change someone's life and has a trickle-down effect generationally.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You're literally changing the family tree,
Literally.
That's so cool. Again, not many people have the ability, or I shouldn't say have the ability, but actually take the action to go out and change things on your own accord. So kudos to you for doing that. Love the organization you're a part of. Last thing I want to talk about.
My wife hates it, though. My wife hates it.
Does it take so much time?
Yeah. So the phone rings every single day.
Well, you know what? Your kids are seeing how you're giving back to the community, and when they get to the position you're in, they're going to be like, "Oh, I learned this from my dad. This is what I do. This is how you make the next generation go." So kudos to you. You talked about something that I want to briefly talk about. The program that you guys are a part of. It's essentially paying kids to get their EMT. Can you talk about the political support you have behind that and what your ultimate goal is?
Yeah, of course. So in the past, ex-supervisor, Mark Liddy Thomas, allowed us to do a program called LA EMT. And we had wraparound services with vendors and different entities that helped with the payments for these students. So fast forward to now, Captain Lee created a curriculum where we can host an EMT under the accreditation of our organization. Hopefully, in the past, it was under a Dr. Kazan. We did his medical license and taught the class. So now we want to work with Supervisor Mitchell and Supervisor Hahn and the other board of supervisors to get different EMT programs in their districts. So that way they can, donate funds to help us with that goal and that journey. But at the end of the day, there's single moms and dads out there that may not, again, have the means to sleep their head or rest their head. So we will have funds to give them hotel vouchers to maybe sleep that night to come to class or that week, whatever it may be, to continue their goals, to get them out of the situation that they're currently in. And then once they graduate and they are successful and pass a national registry under our curriculum and class, we partnered with local ambulance companies where they can immediately get a EMT job. And that way they can hone in on their skills and continue their journey. And right now, for our testing program, it's the FCTC is what we give out to firefighter trainees. And we partner with them to where we can have vouchers for low income folks that have that dream but don't have the means. So it's very important that we provide that to the community, because you never know if this person just had one chance, who knows who they could be. We are blessed to have the opportunity and the chance, but others may have a dad or mom that's an alcoholic or drug addict and they want to get out, but they can't.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here. And that's what the program hopefully will work with. And the board of supervisors are great. All 5 of them are wonderful. We have meetings with them and they are definitely on the the journey with us, and we appreciate it. And we appreciate Chief Maroney and Chief Osby as well, who also implemented the LAEMT, and Chief Maroney is on board for this particular one as well. So it takes a village.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That was always heartbreaking to me to go on calls and you come across children who obviously have no choice in the cards of life that have been dealt to them, and I love that you guys are essentially giving them another card to add to the deck, a way to help them get out of the situation that they had no choice to be, born into, but here they are. So kudos to you again for that. One more thing, Jack's going to say, I'm showing you favoritism again.
I would never accuse you of that.
But I do have to know, you talked about the NFL Cares program. Can you talk about that and your involvement in what you're doing there?
The last couple years, I haven't been super involved like I was the first couple of years, but there are guys, and again, I've seen it. There's athletes that take their career a little too far. They have to know when to pull the plug. Unless you're making LeBron James money or, Cristiano Ronaldo money, you're going to have to pull the plug. And a lot of these NFL players, they might get a little hurt, to the point where they might not be great on the field, but they'll be great on our field. And, I spoke with a punter who was getting waived. He was, he'll be on the team for 8-10 months and then he'll get cut. He wants to start a family. Now they're moving from Seattle to Atlanta to Carolina, and it just wasn't good for his mental state because he wanted to start a family. And his wife is getting on him like what's going on? How long are you going to chase this dream?
Yeah.
So this is a great alternative to being a professional athlete. So I tell my story. Again, I'm not on the NFL level, but I can at least say I was a professional athlete. I pulled the plug early. I missed it at that time, but you have to make a grown-up decision. And it's important that these men and women see that this fire service is a excellent career. You can literally do what you were doing. You can play baseball or football or basketball in the Fire Olympics. Mm-hmm. You can still get your medal. You can still have that camaraderie. You can still play the game. However, you have a career now that can last you longer than your athletic window would. And I unfortunately saw it with my dad. Mark Tolbert, rest in peace. He's a battalion chief that passed away. He went to high school with my dad. He went left, did the fire thing. My dad went right, did the track thing. And their lives are completely different as it relates to, retirement and things of that nature. But again, unfortunately, Chief Tolbert passed away. But he always would tell me, if your dad went left with me, man, he'll be retiring soon.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have a world record though either. So
that is one of the huge benefits of our careers is you do get the pension at the end of the day. Love what you're doing on all fronts as it pertains to mentorship and the recruitment side of the industry. Really cool to hear those stories and those programs. I didn't even know those existed. On those different types of programs, a program that I have known about the existence of and I'm really fond of is a program that David you're involved with. Can you talk about your involvement with the Emerald Society and kind of some of the initiatives that you guys are involved with?
Thanks to our sponsor, Garmin. From flight displays with Wire Aware Powerline alerting to autopilots with Hover Assist, Garmin Avionics Solutions give helicopter pilots the safety of flight tools they need to fly with total confidence. Find out more at garmin.com/helicopters.
Sure. It was influenced a lot by the East Coast, which a lot of our stuff has, which grew exponentially after 9/11. We've always looked up to the New York guys, the best of the best, FDNY. And a lot of us spent a lot of times visiting these places, Boston, New York, some of the West Coast. San Francisco did a real good job, but that really had the good old traditions of the fire service that we really didn't have as LA County Fire. I mean, sure, we had our traditions, but we're a lot younger than the East Coast cities. And I really saw it in funerals and the way the brothers were honored when they're died in the line of duty, which unfortunately happens often in our profession. And just the way they were honored on an East Coast style compared to the West Coast style was night and day. And, group of us got together talking about it, especially seeing the pipes and drums bands playing at these memorials, and I'm sure you've all been to them. And anybody that's witnessed that, when Amazing Grace is played by the bagpiper and that's joined by numerous bagpipers and drummers, I mean it touches your heart, and it's really neat. So long story short, 2009, we created the Emerald Society with the big goal of creating a band for our department. The band has grown exponentially in a good way. They've since gone their own route, their own recognition. We've continued the role of basically supporting, for the most part, the memorial side of it. It started off with funerals. It's since morphed into us taking a lead role in hosting the receptions. Our department's come a long ways. Like you were saying earlier, with mental health, we now have a memorial management team for our line of duty death funerals, which is amazing. They incorporate a lot of groups, honor guard, pipes and drums band. It's just, they've done a great job. I'm real proud of them for that. We have kind of taken the role now of supporting the families of our fallen, whether that's going to Colorado Springs for the International Memorial, Sacramento for the State Memorial, creating t-shirts, creating coins for fundraisers, supporting the family in whatever role we can. Most recently, it was probably about our last half dozen or so, it's taken a lead role in supporting a legit reception. And it's really neat. And a lot of folks don't see it on the West Coast. I mean, a lot of people don't know, hey, when the bagpiper's playing Amazing Grace, you're holding your beer up during that entire song, your hat's off, eyes forward. And, it leaves such a lasting impact on the family. So it's a real proud thing to be a part of and continue those traditions and basically do whatever we can to support that. And we've learned so much, like I said, from the East Coast agencies and International Association of Emerald Societies. And again, it's just a giant brotherhood of the fire service, and neat thing to be a part of.
Yeah, it's one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced, seeing the Emerald Society march down, playing those songs. It's a love-hate thing. I love the honor that goes with what you guys are doing, but I hate what it represents. And it always tugs at my heartstring like crazy when I hear the opening part of that song. Jack, I want to go to you for a minute, because you just spent the better part of 2 weeks honoring fallen law enforcement officers in D.C. Can you talk about that a little bit as it relates to what we're talking about with the Emerald Society?
Well, you can't go 10 feet in D.C. during police week without hearing the pipes and drums. I'll start with that. So if that, I've grown to like it a lot more. It used to hurt me so bad to listen to it, but now I appreciate it much more. I know some of the pipes and drums guys. I just posted a picture of one with Cliff Armis, a longtime retired LAPD guy that's a fixture in the pipes. But yeah, going back to what David just mentioned, the East Coast thing, you look at a funeral in New York for FDNY or for NYPD, and it's like nothing else you'll ever see.
So impressive.
It's incredible. I mean, it's blocks and blocks of, 25, 30 deep firefighters or police officers, and both. It just is amazing. And the West Coast, it's always been kind of.
We're slowly catching up and doing the right thing.
There's no doubt. I think the number of officers killed line of duty on LAPD during my time was 36. And, there were some big funerals, some big ones. Randy Simmons was the biggest one I've ever seen. I mean, that was unbelievable for a lot of reasons. But compared to the East Coast, they were kind of, small. So what David, you're saying is absolutely true. And it's, we owe it to our brothers and sisters and for their families. I love that you emphasize that. That is what the key is. The events that I went to in DC, those are for the survivors. We're honoring fallen. We get that. Their names are going on a wall, but all the ceremonies, they're all for the survivors to get them through it. I had to watch these kids walking. Jeez, it's hard.
Yeah. And really part of the survivors are the crews and the department. And you want to bring that lasting, honorable tradition.
Yes.
And there's nothing like it. And even I tell folks, if you're not a firefighter, you're not a cop, go to a funeral. You want to be moved. I mean, it's stunning. And
it is.
It's the way it should be.
And again, it's so that family, especially the children, have that lasting impression that look at these people that came here for my mom, for my dad, for my brother. I mean, it helps them get through it. I know quite a few survivors, and I know I've talked to them about it, and how much those ceremonial things meant to them and still mean to them to this day. So good that you initiated some things and got involved in that. Are you part of the actual band, David? Or
no, I'm not yet. When I have as many hours in the day as Johnny does, I'm going to learn, but I haven't managed to figure that out yet. But it's on the.
There's not a kilt under that desk right now that we're missing.
He has a kilt.
I
bet he does. Of course he does. Good, good.
Yeah, we'll get Johnny wearing it one of these days.
Oh yeah, we want a photo of that.
Not mine, but I did get him to wear
a cowboy hat, Dave. So next is a kilt.
So John, that's the thumbnail photo that we need for the podcast is David and Johnny in kilts. Yeah, with a fire helmet on.
I'll send you a picture of Johnny with his cowboy hat.
I love what both of you guys are doing to honor and mentor the community. You know, that stuff's huge. We talk about it all the time, but it's really cool to not just talk about it, but to see you guys through action, actually doing it. In the interest of time, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We got to get to something that all of our listeners are curious to hear about is the Eaton and Palisades fires. Yeah. Being that I'm in Southern California, I'm in the mountains of Southern California. I was obviously here during that wind event. It was one of the most severe wind events that I've experienced in the last 10 years plus. In Southern California, we get wind events fairly often, but nothing like what we experienced and saw during that time. Can you guys walk us through the wind event itself, a little bit about the fire, and we'll kind of go from there?
We knew it was coming. Our forecasters we all knew it was coming. We knew the guy, Mike Nelson, he was referring to earlier, calls it our Super Bowl when we have these wind events. Hey, it's a Super Bowl or potential Super Bowl for air operations. And turned out it was. So we had multiple helicopters staffed on top of our regular deployment. The fire hit. Johnny and I were both working that day. We were on the initial start at the Palisades fire, and we were on the Bell 412 helicopter. So we deployed to a landing zone near the fire. The Bell helicopters, we strip them of about, 300 pounds of weight or so of our extra EMS stuff that's not needed for firefighting. And then our pilots take off on their own versus the Blackhawks where your full crew stays on board. Anyhow, Johnny and I, we stripped our helicopters. We were on two different helicopters that day, and we sent our pilots off, it was an eerie feeling that day because you could see the column of smoke, which was laying flat, going out over the ocean, but just severe winds. I mean, it was sustained 50 miles an hour, and we're in a spot that has a little weather station on it, and it was scary. So our pilots were coming in for fuel. We're doing a quick, going up, plugging in, talking to the pilot. Hey, how you doing? And it was treacherous conditions. Hands down, the worst wind event I've ever been involved with or seen in Southern California, felt. So I was worried about my pilot that day. So having a talk with him each time he would come in for fuel and just a checkup. Hey, how you doing? I'm looking at the weather, and we had already decided as a group, all of us were there. Even our off-duty folks were there. We subsequently were there for 3 weeks, which was, I've never been a part of anything like that where you're stuck at work for 3 weeks, but extraordinary circumstances. So our pilots are out doing their thing on their own. And it came to a point where, you couldn't even stand up. We're standing up at this helispot being blown over by the wind. And we had come together as a group saying, hey, at some point, if we can't do it safely, we're not going to do it. And every time he would land, hey, are you doing all right? Are you being effective? And then it came to a point with hey, are we ready to throw in the towel? Because we far surpassed, what we had agreed to fly in. And now we're getting gusts of 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. And it came to a point where I made a call to the incident commander, which was LA City. And I said, hey, this is where we're at. We have 90 mile an hour gusts. And the Helco, which was running all the helicopters that day, and they took that into account. And it was scary. There's no other word for it other than it was scary. I'm glad we didn't lose anybody. And that went on for days. And I'm not kidding. I mean, we're at our fifth day of this, and we're fighting fire at night in treacherous winds. And I can remember seeing the lights of scattered fire engine. We're still losing houses. And I was thinking, man, I hope we don't lose a crew, because it was scary. I mean, you would see just through the smoke, we're doing a lot of good, no doubt. We're saving a lot of homes, but again, there's only so much you could do. And that first night, we actually did end up throwing in the towel and grounding our aircraft for about 12 hours. We were all flying to that second start, and it was just scary. We shouldn't have been flying in it. We were ineffective, and it was dangerous. And we finally, our senior pilots made a great call and said, you know what, we're grounding our aircraft. And our particular aircraft, we went to land, and we were hit by a gust of wind, flying sideways, just made it over the hangar, went around, pilot landed, and this is a 20-year Special Forces Army guy that's flown in every condition known to man, and he was as white as a sheet of paper, and you could tell he was rattled.
Yeah.
And it was one of those chances where you wanted to kiss the ground, but we did a lot of good, but it was devastating.
When you've got someone with the experience level of Mike Sagely saying this is not an effective or safe environment for us to operate this aircraft in, you know for sure that it's a bad environment.
Right.
Negative G's.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike talked about negative G's, and we're like, what did he just say? I mean, unbelievable. The downdrafts, the updrafts, when we talked to Mike, I know John and I just sat here with our jaws dropped as helicopter pilots and went, wow, what, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Mike said it was the first time that he voluntarily left the fire in 17 years.
Yeah.
That's a clue that
Sounds
that
about
was
right.
something special that night. Wow.
We were flying back when we had finished up our set at the Palisades fire. We'd flown for about 8 hours. We were flying back to our deployment site east, and we're flying against the wind. There was, I think our ground speed was like 20 miles an hour. And we had seen under goggles the start of the Eaton fire. And I had said to my pilot, I go, hey, that's another start. And I was thinking, hey, we're 10 miles out, but let's head that way. I'm going to get the size up on this thing. In a matter of minutes, I'm talking 1-2 minutes, the thing had exploded in all directions. Usually your fire's going in the wind direction, and this thing just exploded in all directions. He goes, we're not going over there. He goes, we're going to be lucky to make it just on a full tank of gas back to our deployment site, which is usually no big deal, but it's not the distance, but it was what we were fighting to get to it.
Yeah. Wild. I think about the Santa Ana wind conditions that I've flown in, and I don't like it. I don't like the Santa Ana winds because it's so turbulent. It's not a sustained wind. It's the gusts that you're talking about that catch you off guard, makes it really hard to fly in. So I imagine as a pilot being in control of the aircraft, that's one thing. But for you guys as crew members, it's got to be a little unsettling to be in those situations. Can you talk about your thoughts as you're flying through those conditions?
It's time for your Heli Life giveaway buzzword. Listen up and remember this word, because you'll need it to enter for a chance to win exclusive Heli Life gear. Ready? This episode's buzzword is hover. Visit contest.verticalhelicasts.com to enter the buzzword.
A little bit unsettling. For
I
me,
can see this coming.
I've never in my life seen winds like that. And you guys were talking about, I've never been up and then down at 1,000 feet per minute, left and then right. Pilots trying to go right, but we're still going left. I'm crew chiefing saying, hey, you guys got those towers to your left, right? towers to the left, and he's trying to go right, but we're getting pushed left. That was very unsettling.
Yeah.
And then, not to mention, when you see the fire coming out of the canyon that looks like it's CGI or AI, not CGI, I guess we're in AI world now. It looks like it's AI. You're looking at yourself like, I'm in a Bell 412. There's no way we're going to affect anything with this fire. And I've never seen smoke like that come out of a canyon or roll those hills like that. It was just amazing to see. And then, not to mention, you're looking at transformers blowing up in neighborhoods as far as the eye can see. And then in the distance, you still got the Palisades fire when you're at the Eden fire. So Dave and I were on both fires that day and night. So it was very surreal to fly at night on one fire, look in the goggles in the distance and see the other fire.
Yeah.
So it's a testament to our air operations section, in particular, the mechanics. We had 6 aircraft flying every single day for 24 hours. So those maintenance workers were also beat up, tired, just like we were. And that is the part of the fire service that I love, that reminds me of the sports. We literally all came together under that roof with each other with the same common goal, and the same, drive and passion. Not to mention the community came dropping off pizzas that were, 6 feet high, and the circumstances were bad, but it was nice to see the unity and the resilience of everyone during that time. But that fire is, like Dave said, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
That's the one story that I'm really interested to dig more into is the maintainers, to talk to those folks and learn more about what efforts they had to go to support those missions. Because, it truly takes a team, as we've talked about. But outside of those maintainers, nothing's happening.
That's right.
Those folks, hats off to all the work they did through those incidents and beyond, because I can't imagine working in those environments for those hours in order to maintain those missions. Really cool.
Thank you to our sponsor, CNC Technologies. CNC Technologies, serving law enforcement, government, and military markets with tailored mission solutions, system training, and live 24/7 support with CNC.live platform. Explore more at cnctechnologies.com.
I mean, we had a fuel tender guy that literally worked every time we would land for fuel. He's there, ready with the hose, ready to go, to work. So it's a lot bigger than just what people see on TV.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people behind the scenes that are making this operation work, and we could not do anything if it wasn't for the people behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge team to make it all successful. Those fires were devastating. Lots of homes lost, lots of property burned, lives were lost. I haven't had a chance to fly over the areas in the wake of the fires, but I've heard it's very impactful, devastating is what I've been told. What are you guys seeing as far as the rebuilding goes, and what are your thoughts on that?
They're just starting. I mean, most of the debris is removed from all the individual residences and properties, but it's eerie. I mean, you're flying over huge areas of land where we've all been on big wildfires that you lose homes, whatever. But this, you're talking about communities wiped out. It's moonscaped in a lot of areas. And then you'll see random homes in between, which is eerie. It has to be eerie for those folks. But
bizarre.
Just absolutely huge areas of land. And I'm sure you all saw in the news, but areas that don't normally burn, but it was such a horizontal wind-driven fire. I mean, you have Chipotle's, Bank of America, all these commercial buildings surrounded by concrete that are just getting torched. And it was just unique, extraordinary circumstances for a long, sustained period of time. There was so much good done. There was a lot of death and destruction, but there was so much good done by so many folks that, but flying over it now, I mean, when we deploy back and forth every day, it gives you a weird feeling. It's just eerie to see.
Wild. That's a once in a generation type of situation.
Hopefully.
The lessons that were learned from that will continue to be learned forever. So it's interesting you know, as bad as those things are, sometimes there's some really good lessons that are learned as a result of that. Anything that and I don't know if you guys can answer this or not, but anything that you guys identified that's been positive since then in a way that you guys will apply to future fires?
For me personally, as relate, being a crew chief, what my mentor told me, with Mike Nelson, we fight the fire the same, whether it's a 10 acre, 15 acre, 20 acre, or 20,000 acre. From my standpoint, I don't think anything would change. The communications were excellent. I think what we would grow from is different aircraft flying at night together, because that's new to Southern California. Having all those different agencies flying together in the same dip site, going to to the same division, that was surreal to see. That was something very cool to be a part of, because that was brand new for Southern California. It was a long time where we were the only ones flying at night with maybe a CAL FIRE ship that flies at night. But so it was very cool to see all of those agencies work together in unison safely.
Yeah, there was a ton of agencies involved. I think I saw Ventura County, obviously LA County, LA City Fire, Orange County, I think, was out there. What other agencies were out helping?
Oh, you had contract ships that were out. You had CAL FIRE definitely was all over the fires. And then
National Guard
was out here. I did not see them. We have bucketed ships at different divisions, which you don't see in Southern California very often working. So it was a very unique sight to really witness and be a part of.
Yeah.
We flew down for a rescue, and there's a spot that we used to land out in Malibu, and we had flown in from another location, and we had flown over that we're on our way to pick up this patient for EMS call. And I looked down, and there must have been 20, 25 helicopters. This is 3 or 4 days into the fires. And I was blown away by how many resources had been brought down in such a short amount of time from multi-agencies. It was impressive.
Yeah, no shortage of personnel, that's for sure. You know, you see the armies essentially that deployed to come and help. What I always love about the fire community and the response that comes from the community itself is the support that follows that. I remember being on campaign fires, and you drive out of fire camp and you'd see people with homemade signs thanking the firemen, for the work that's being done. Just a huge outpouring of support and gratitude from the community. And you saw that in the wake of these fires. You continue to see it. As much as Hollywood is not my favorite industry, I did like what I saw coming out of Hollywood in the wake of the fires, the support that you guys received from them. Can you talk about some of the support that you guys did see and experience?
Oh, for sure. I firstly want to thank Kristen Bell. She did a lot for Culver City LA Fire Department, our fire department, LA City Fire Department. She hosted a bunch of us at different events. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So her and Dax are very cool for allowing us to take part in those situations. Obviously, the Grammys was an excellent experience that the city came together and thanked us.
Talk about that a little bit. What was the Emmys like? From getting dressed up to walking down. What was that like?
The coolest thing was doing it with my wife. Mm-hmm. I don't really get starstruck too much because, again, they're all just human beings just like us.
Yeah.
But it was definitely surreal to walk the red carpet, and you see Will Smith coming, or you see these different artists that you've seen on TV for so long, and you're like, I'm bumping my wife like, April, like, we're really walking the red carpet right now. Like, this is crazy, and then you have the people taking pictures of you. Now you feel weird because you're like, what do I do? Like, I don't have a model style or pose. Like, what am I doing? Yeah, so that was awkward. But I think the most surreal part about the Grammys was when that door opened or the stage doors open and you look out and you see everyone standing up clapping and you look at their faces like, I listened to you on the ride up here. My daughter loves you. My brother's, major wardrobe, like, this is crazy. Like, so that was surreal for me. I'm sure there's video of me smiling and everyone's being stoic, but here I am, not knowing what to do with myself. So that was pretty cool to see, and it felt good to be appreciated. But again, at the end of the day, we're just professional firefighters doing our job. But Hollywood definitely did come together and donate their time and money.
Yeah, I think it's important for the community to want to just appreciate and recognize how much you guys sacrificed to do what you did, not just in that particular incident, but over the course of your careers. So I think any ounce of gratitude that can be bestowed on the public safety community, I think you should take it, because it doesn't come in that way very often.
It was really neat to see we had people bringing in tons of food. So did all the firehouses. All the professional sports. The LA Kings had a fire helmet in their center ice for the rest of the season. The Angels are, after the guy hits a home run, he's wearing a LA County fire helmet. There's so many things where people just kind of put their arms around, once again, the firemen get all the credit over the cops, whether right, wrong, or indifferent. But it was neat to see the community come to support us. Not that you're looking for that recognition, but especially Hollywood, like you say, people that are stepping out of their comfort zone, and there were so many neat things, and that we were grateful for. It was neat to see.
Yeah, it was so cool to see our LA County Fire hockey team on the ice. Like, that was pretty cool for me to go support them on that. Like, that was pretty cool.
Jack, did you see anybody thinking LAPD, or was that just?
Could you press that crickets button that's on your panel there? Just press that crickets button right now.
You have the hardest job in the world. Yeah. You have the hardest job and the craziest job in the world. So my hats are off to you.
We think the same. We go, those guys are crazy. These firefighters are crazy, man. And, but it's a mutual respect. It's a mutual respect and competition and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, cops look at firefighters and go, wow, those guys, I don't know, standing on a roof and punching holes in it. I don't know. That just seems insane to me.
I'd rather do that than dodge bullets any day of the week.
Yes. And that's what firefighters said.
Or pull over some random person. You have no idea how their day is going.
But I don't remember pizzas getting delivered ever. So I'm just saying.
If you did, he'd be like, I'm not eating that. Right. I had the benefit of working for Ontario, California, and our relationship with our fire department was really good. In fact, I remember quite a few fights we got in mutually, combating either a combative patient or fire department helping me subdue a suspect when they were the first on scene to help me back, So, I had a really, really good relationship with, the city has a great relationship between the fire department and the police department. And it's not that way everywhere, but I think it's that way most places, and if you work for an agency where it's not that way, I really encourage you guys to break bread together. David talked about the fire table, the kitchen table, and that is a source of debriefs. You solve all the world's problems. A simple conversation over a cup of coffee at that table solves a lot of problems. So I encourage you guys to go in there, break some bread, have a cup of coffee, and improve those relationships if they're not where they need to be, because it's crucial. We're out there working together, doing a lot of the same missions. So
for sure.
I love this whole conversation. Has been really cool. The last question I'll have for you guys really is advice that you give to future generations of aspiring aviators, being that we're the Hangar Z podcast. What advice would you give to somebody who's like, I want to do what Johnny does?
Man, I was just telling, number one, you have to dedicate yourself to anything that you want to be good at or great at or obtain. So it's very important that you do your due diligence with, number one, working on your moral character. Because when you live with someone for 24 hours, you have to be a person of high character. So that's the first thing that I would suggest that folks do. But just keep working hard. The aviation is a very dangerous, field or section, but train, study, and take from others, learn from others, and don't ever get comfortable.
Love that.
And you only got one life to live, so set yourself up to be successful where you want to end up. I even as a firefighter, I was happy to finally be working for LA County, but I would look up to the guys. Oh man, air ops, boy, I'll never be there. But what a special chosen group. And then, the more and more time and wisdom you get, well, why can't I be one of those guys? So what do I need to do to get there? And just set yourself up for success and reach out to folks in the industry, the community. Hey, what do I need to be, or what do I need to do to be in that role? Whether it's a pilot, a crew chief, a crew member, whatever that role or goal is that you have, reach out and get on that path, because once again, those jobs got to go to somebody. Might as well be you, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just focus on the process too. Like, embrace the process, enjoy it. Don't focus on the outcome, because if you focus on the process, your outcome will automatically probably be delivered to you. So just trust the process, enjoy it, embrace it, have a short memory, and just continue moving forward one step at a time.
Yeah. Jack, any final thoughts as we kind of close out here?
I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation. I had no idea it was going to go to where it went. This was fantastic. Really fantastic. Just both of you are very unique. I love the background of you, Johnny, and the journey that you had. And David, I love the story about you and your dad. Those two things alone made this whole conversation worthwhile, but then it went way beyond that. So thank you very, very much, not only for joining us on the Hangar Z, but for what you do and the things that you're doing every day. That we understand the risk and the stuff that you do on a daily basis and don't even blink at it. So well done. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us. I think it's important. Man, what you guys are doing is very important, because someone can watch your episodes and get a nugget out of it, or get a life lesson out of it, or learn something from it, or even learn something about themselves from listening to other people's stories. So what you guys are doing are excellent too. Keep up the great work.
We're trying. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yep. And I again, like Jack said, just honored and humbled that you guys would join us. I know you guys got a lot going on, as we've all heard the last 2 hours. You guys are dedicating a lot of your own time to efforts outside of work. So thanks for taking time to sit with us. Looking forward to seeing you guys in person. David and I actually got to sit have lunch together a couple of years ago at HAI at the time. And here we are a little over a year later on the podcast. So looking forward to seeing you guys hopefully at the next Hoist Operators Conference, or at Verticon, or somewhere like that. But until then, we will catch you later. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Salute.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thank you to our sponsor, CNC Technologies. CNC Technologies, serving law enforcement, government, and military markets with tailored mission solutions, system training, and live 24/7 support with CNC.live platform. Explore more at cnctechnologies.com. Thanks to our sponsor, Garmin. From flight displays with wire-aware power line alerting to autopilots with hover assist, Garmin Avionics Solutions give helicopter pilots the safety of flight tools they need to fly with total confidence. Find out more at garmin.com/helicopters.
Whether your mission is saving lives or servicing high-value assets, Onboard Systems Hoist stays ready to assist. Features such as single-point payout reduce the potential for hoist-induced load swings, enhancing overall safety. For more information, go to hoist-winch.onboardsystems.com. Thank you for tuning into this inspiring series of the Hangar Z Podcast. We hope Johnny Gray III and David Bauman's stories and insights into teamwork, leadership, and resilience resonated with you. Their dedication and spirit exemplify the true meaning of service and emergency response. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to leave us a review, like, and subscribe to the podcast. Your support helps us continue sharing valuable stories. We'd also love to hear your suggestions. If you have any guests or topics you'd like to see featured, please visit the contact tab at verticalhelicast.com and let us know.